Well, fun fact, I've just recently finished watching the anime episode of Ethan Zero where Elsie Crimson makes her first anime appearance. Plus, Shiki gets the Ethan Zero, which means Witch gets introduced. I can't lie, when that happened, it did sting a little, because the scars of death do not heal that quickly. Plus, this chapter, specifically, could have foreshadowed the death of Elsie Crimson. Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zillia, and today we're here to talk about chapter 167 of the Ethan Zero manga series. A very transitional-like chapter that showcases the reactions of our crew, after, of course, Witch died. They have just defeated Shura, and saved millions of robots across the Aoi cosmos, plus also some human lives. Nevertheless though, nobody aboard the Ethan Zero is in the mood to celebrate. So then, first of all, I need to talk about a specific character within this chapter, and that character is Rebecca. The level of pain and sadness that she must be feeling was presented perfectly within the chapter entirely. Using her ability for 2 days straight, trying to return to a certain point in time, this has started to take a physical effect upon her body. She's trembling with sadness and possibly the feeling of helplessness. After all, her main ability is leaping back in points of time. Yet, when she needs to use the ability the most, in order to save a friend's life, is unable to be of any use. Just imagine the mental strain that this action has been inflicting upon Rebecca's mind. Her mental state must be slowly crumbling, as well as her physical body. Now then, one lingering thought in the back of my mind after reading this chapter does also link to Rebecca's character. And that question is, what point in time was she trying desperately to return to? Was she trying to return to the point in time just before Witch walked out onto the platform and ultimately died, so that she could have warned Witch and said to the others, look, this is our new plan, let's do this and everyone can survive and live? Personally, I don't think that plan would have actually worked, as Witch was happy to sacrifice her life if it meant that she could save and protect those that she loved dearly. If anything, this warning would have given Witch more clarity, conviction, and peace of mind, knowing that these actions and her protecting the crew would save all of their lives. She would go out there smiling as she disintegrated. Now then, another point in time that Rebecca could have tried to go back to is just after Shiki had defeated Shura. Of course, this is when Ziggy would have activated the bombs. Now, they wouldn't have actually been able to prevent Ziggy from doing so. However, Rebecca could have changed Shiki's mind. Rebecca could be feeling a sense of guilt about this situation. After all, she was pushing Shiki hard, saying that they need to leave the planet and basically survive before it ultimately blew up, instead of actually trying to defuse the bombs. Had she convinced Shiki to destroy the bombs or defuse them instead, everyone could have lived and survived. Ultimately, this applies to Shiki's character as well, but we all make choices and decisions, and sometimes they have consequences. So we must move forward and live with those consequences in our hearts and try to make sure it never repeats itself. Either way, Rebecca within this chapter has gained my support. I really have been enjoying her character a lot lately, and her words of comfort to Shiki this chapter I thought was super wholesome and enjoyable. It makes her feel more like a supportive mother type of character, almost taking over Witch's role. This ultimately leads me more on the side of Rebecca becoming the new shield of the Ethan Zero, and is, the topic I've been trying to push in my other reviews. So I kind of like that. I like the fact she's a supportive friend, and she's been trying her hardest to make the situation better for everybody. Now, really quickly, sticking with the crew on the Ethan Zero, I found myself enjoying the development for Wise's character, even if it was just a small amount of panel time. In this chapter, he managed to display a growth of maturity, understanding that it's not just him and his friends that have, suffered in death. The battle would have affected everybody, and fighting amongst themselves wouldn't actually achieve anything, nor would it make Witch happy. So he decides to let Luca go after, the whole aggressive, if anything happens to my friends, I'm going to kill you scene that we got, at the start of this arc. Moving along to Sister and Hermit, however, two characters that must be protected at all costs. They cannot die in the future. And not only would the fanbase flood the planet with their tears, but also, they're just too good of a character to waste. So with Sister saying first Valkyrie and now Witch, who out of us is going to be next? That line did make me worry a little bit. However, if any of the other shining stars were to fade away, I would guess that Sister would be the next to go, for two reasons. Reason number one, Sister would possibly give her life to heal or revive someone, and it would be a great emotional, impactful scene that would see the character off, much like we got with both Valkyrie and with Witch. And number two, Hermit would be mentally destroyed and would be living in fear once again, with worry of another shining star's death, fearing that her time might be near, and always looking over her shoulder. She would showcase some of these emotions, I think, a lot better than Sister would, had she been given the chance. But if I have the choice, then Hermit stays alive until the end of this series and beyond, because I don't want her to die anyway. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I said that this chapter could have possibly foreshadowed Elsie's death. But why? Let's have a look. Within this chapter, she confronts Ziggy, and has a prime opportunity to kill him in fact, but decides not to, as her human emotions cloud her judgment. And those two main emotions being pride and gratitude. The pride aspect of Elsie comes from her not wanting to fight Ziggy in his current state. And her feelings of gratitude and compassion stem from the fact that Ziggy once saved her life when she was adrifting in space. So in a sense, she feels a bit indebted to Ziggy and doesn't want to take advantage of his current condition. Personally, I think it's because of these emotions that Elsie won't be able to deal the killing blow to Ziggy when she has the chance to do so. She might even make the same mistakes as Nero did in the battle against Nero and Ziggy for the Empire. Elsie might be able to cut off an arm, leg, any body part you like, leaving Ziggy body and head intact. And then she might try to appeal to Ziggy's former good side once more, seeing if he can turn to the side of good once again. Obviously, if this does happen, Ziggy would still be able to attack Elsie, thus dealing a potentially fatal blow to her. Now we've seen how durable Elsie actually is, because she managed to, get stabbed by a sword of justice, and, she seems pretty okay. However, I think after a few attacks, and also the emotional pain that would come with a fight against Ziggy, I can't see Elsie surviving. And I feel like she is one to meddle in Ziggy's business again, because she'll feel like it's up to her to do so. Okay, now another really piece of interesting dialogue from Ziggy was the announcement of being in World 31. Now this wasn't expanded upon within the chapter, but I can't remember if we've actually heard of this particular world or future before within the series. But what's actually fascinating about this announcement is the fact that we now know and have confirmation that Ziggy has the ability to tell what world or when a world shifts into another timeline. But then the question now becomes, how did Ziggy gain this new ability to learn which world they are currently in? Well, I have a couple of ideas, and number one, whatever force/being revived Ziggy, reawoken him, reanimated him with that particular ability. Number two, this is an ability that Ziggy already knew before his death, meaning that he learnt it upon his travels before finding Shiki. Now, I don't know why, but I have this crazy theory that Ziggy isn't actually being possessed, but instead playing the role of an evil villain. Maybe there's a reason for his sudden change in personality, and that links to the ability of him being able to see the current world and the future that they're currently in. Ziggy keeps saying and going on about killing the human race, and saying things like Shiggy's made the wrong choice. Could this mean that there is a future threat that Ziggy has seen with this ability, and Ziggy's choice of letting the bombs explode has in turn turned the sands of time towards this particular fate? So this makes all of these antagonistic actions that Ziggy has been doing basically him attempting to mold Shiki and his friends into the fighters and characters they need to be in order to anticipate this future threat to come. So eventually, once they face off against Ziggy and make him atone for all of the evil things he's currently been doing and will be doing in the future, they beat him down. And this is when they're ready, finally, to face the even darker future threat that looms over them. I like this idea as it also links back to when people in the beginning of the series was referring to Ziggy being this final boss type of character. Typically in games and movies, there's normally another boss fight after the presumably final boss that you go up against. So I think this could tie in pretty well and would not redeem Ziggy's character because he doesn't need redeeming, but it'll make him have a bit more of a purpose, a bit more of a reason for doing what he's doing, instead of just being evil for the sake of being evil. Now I know this idea doesn't contain a lot of weight or evidence or validity behind it. I just think it's a really cool idea and I wouldn't rule this out to be a possibility for a future storyline to be revealed later on down the road. But overall, I thought this was a great transitional chapter as it showcased our heroes mourning over the death of their friend. And yeah, I found it a pretty okay chapter with a few bits of interesting character moments and dialogue just sprinkled about here and there. I liked the character interactions, I thought they were great. The animation was pretty good too, or the art style I should say, not the animation. But overall, I can't wait to see how the crew are going to bounce back and what they're going to do next. It's clear that Shiki is still feeling the sadness that was weighing down on his heart of the loss of his friend. But they are all sad together as a family, as a group. But together they'll support each other so that they can all move forward. And I'm excited to see how it goes. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, hit like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And of course, I'll be seeing you next time. Have a great day. Alligator, mud in it. Goodbye.